He's saying go to the hometown. It's very close by his hometown. Mendo?
Mendham.
8 minutes.
Yeah, well, town council is between, I don't know, but it could be between the rock and a hard place. If the town council takes a strong stand against Christie, your school budget's going to get cut, your road budget's going to get cut, your health care clinics are going to get cut. Now, that's not going to be the way it comes down, because we have to cut everybody. So, what you want for your town council is to support you but they're certainly not going to go to his house. Now, if you want to go to his house, here's what you do. All right, I've been to all of their houses. There were several things we did. So in one community, which is not Love Canal, we had everybody do pictures. We blew them up. We printed them out on an 8.5 by 11. And then you take ribbons and you string them on a ribbon. Depending on how many pictures you have and how long you want it to be, you could string them very far apart or very close together. And then you take them and you present them to the governor at his house. They're pictures of your family. They're pictures of your children. It's pictures of your pet. It's pictures of, whatever is stressful in your life. It's a peaceful thing to do. It's very picture. Be sure to call the media and tell them you're doing it. If you go to his house, you must stay on the sidewalk. You must keep moving. That's okay. Keep marching back and forth. You can't block the driveway. You could also knock on the doors of his neighbors, unless it's a gated community that I don't know. No? No, you are not. No. No, never any violence. If one person does violence, you all get tagged with it. So keep your hands in your pocket, sir. But there's lots of things you can do like that to really make him uncomfortable. And so that is not a bad idea. It's 8 minutes from here? Yeah. It's very close. And you can do it you're not going to stay there long because you have security people and they're going to shush you away. But, you could do it for an hour. So, your lunch hour on Wednesday, go out there and do that for those who can leave at lunch hour on Wednesday. We have a whole booklet, actually, you can download from our website. Where we have a thing like the talking outhouse. It's a pretend outhouse. It's not a real outhouse. You put speakers in there, and you have somebody with a wireless speaker a distance away, and as people walk by, would say, "Do you hear what Christie's doing to our community?" He's using it as an outhouse. And then people are like, they all think they're on candy camera, so they hang. No, they do. They hang. So it's another way to communicate, and at the same time you're giving them a postcard or something that says, "Call Christie," and you're putting Christie's numbers there, or tweet him, or Facebook him, or email him. There's at least 5 ways you can get to him every day. And if you think about jamming up those 5 ways, it's not a big deal. It takes discipline, but it's not a big deal to do that. I'm telling you, that alone will make a difference.
That and run all the cattle, that'd be good.
Go for the outhouse.
So I looked into that back October. I was trying to put a protest together, and the Mendham Borough and Mendham proper police very supportive. But they said his home is in a little street that gets a lot of traffic, and it's very narrow.
But
We should do Route 24, and we could even park the thing in the parking lot. Yeah. He goes, "That's what you want me to put together."
I'm game.
I'm in.
1 year, you got to commit 1 year to really raising Cain. Everybody who hasn't done anything yet, you need to do twice as much. All those who've done stuff, you got to keep doing the same. You don't get a break.
I've been on his street, and it's not busy, and it's not any narrower than ours. And I think we could do a nice little protest that you talked about, walking around in a circle in front of his house. Big circle, big house.
Let's find out what he's
How
home.
do you find out when he's home? That would be the best thing.
I'm sure there's people who can help you find out when he's home. I mean, that's not, I wouldn't worry about that. As you're moving through the 4th of July, I mean, you also think of these different holidays as ways to do it. So you're doing a 4th of July parade with kids with their bicycles decorated and baby buggies and whatever, and you're carrying signs of, about Christie, and you're doing it where Christie's going to see you. So where's Christie going to be on the 4th of July? That's where you want to be. I don't know where that is, but that's where you want to be.
Maybe he has a town parade of Mendham that reacts can get a little space in and march down and south.
Right. You know who lives on this street. It's sad, but it's true. Watch out, he can make a dump out of you.
I had more questions about what you did in Ohio. Is this a petition that could be done, air, soil, and water, across the board to take Governor Christie? I mean, he has ruined. He has taken all of the money, all the green monies. He's bankrupt any hope we have to move forward into a cleaner energy. Can we take him out totally? Because then you have food and water, you have the anti-gas industry, you have all the fracking people. He also sits on the Delaware River Basin Commission and wants to frack the basin, which is our 17
I thought there was a moratorium on that.
There's a moratorium on it, but there's a new gentleman coming in there, and we're pressing to keep the moratorium. But Ken has a letter from him that he wants to permit 30 wells.
That's why I'm going to be
30 pads with 10 wells each. That's 300 wells.
That's why I'm going to be Wednesday next week, fracking in Philly, or anti-fracking in Philly. The answer is yes, you can include all those, but you're not going to win that one.
Okay.
Because what you're doing is you're diluting your message. So you have folks in this room here who have landfill-related fights. You have the soil-safe folks. You have, I don't know, there's like 20 other landfill struggles.
So keep it specific.
I would keep it specific because otherwise, and I don't even know if you can do it. I mean, I'm telling you what we did in Ohio. I had little to do with it, but
you do it all, and whatever works, works.
Yeah, but keep it narrow. I mean, one of the things you can start with your telephone campaigning is to say, you can also send postcards or a petition to EPA and ask them to take Christie's rights to regulate away from him. And it's a certain section of RCRA and some, Sierra Club or someone could certainly help you figure out what that is. I honestly don't. They all are ABCs to me. There's just too many laws, and they're all very different from state to state. But
we have such a healthy bleed of organizers across the board in this state, and everybody is coming together. And I really do hope all of you take some time out to go to the other neighborhoods, to Ringwood and up to Pompton Lakes, and help in their efforts and help write their EPA letters as well.
Yeah. Good point.
I just want to make a comment that we're talking about getting social media involved. And during our Okra request, when we were down in Trenton for a few days, there was a tweet from one of our residents who's actually here about, hope you're enjoying the smell of the salt air, evacuation alert issued in my neighborhood 4 o'clock a.m. And that was back in last September. And you see emails from Governor Christie here going, what is this all about? What's going on here? So he is listening. They are telling him. There was letters that kids made and sent to Governor Christie. We sent them off to Governor Christie. They went to his house, and he wasn't happy about it. And it made an impact. And everybody here can do a little piece to make a difference. And it just takes 5 minutes each day, and it will make a difference.
I'd love to know, what did you find was the most effective ways to get your own community involved?
Well, there was a couple things we did, and I don't know how you guys are organized here. One of the things that we did is we set up, if you can imagine, a bicycle wheel. We set up a bunch of field representatives, so each spoke would represent a number of people, so they were in charge of those homes. So, for example, you would be in charge of 10 homes, and she would be in charge of another 10. And the key to that was going door to door in those 10 homes, talking to those folks, or picking up the phone and talking with those folks, encouraging them to write a letter, encouraging them to make their phone calls, find out what they're hearing at the field level. And then the hub of the wheel is where all of those spoke people come back together. and then talk about what they're hearing, what they're doing. And so if you have a bake sale, for example, and you want to raise some money, all these spoke people, you know, they're representing so many people, will go out and say, can you bake something, can you attend a table, can you do whatever, and then comes back and reports. And the nice thing about that is that most of us set up structures that sort of look like corporate structures, president, vice president, chair, blah, 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 because that's what we know. That's how I never worked. I mean, I'm working now, but like I never had a job. But, you know, the sort of pyramid structure kind of thing. And so that's what we have a tendency to do, which means there's 3 to 5 people, 10 people at the top, and then nobody else plays and they do all the work. This way, you sort of share the work. Like if I was to ask this group, who in this group would volunteer to be fundraising chair for life? Come on. Okay, so no, wait. How many of you would be willing to contribute cookies, brownies, or something to a fundraiser? So that's my point. Is that don't think about these different spokes as being the fundraising committee. What you want to do is those are the folks that are, you know, in the street, and you bring them together and say, what do we need? Well, if we're going to go down to Trenton, we need to pay for fuel. We can't keep asking people to take it out of their pocket. We need to pay for Lois's travel here. She's got a train fare that needs to be covered. Whatever it might be, right? And then the folks go out and they say, okay, let's do a bake sale, and everybody goes out and tells their 10 folks, and they come and do a bake sale. It's really about not controlling the organization, but organizing the organization. So everybody has a role and a responsibility, and they come together and go apart. And just to that point, we never had a meeting that didn't have 500 people in the room. Ever. No, we were a much more urban area than you have here. This is not a shabby crowd. You guys have done fabulous. But the reason is because people would call their 10 people and they would just encourage them to come out. And then the person who brought out their 10 people for 3 meetings in a row got some cheesy thing we got from the drugstore that they donated, a Timex watch or something. I don't know. But it was really about them coming up front and being acknowledged for their hard work of talking to their 10 people and getting them to the meeting. So we have a whole structural thing, and I'd be happy to come back and work with you all on organizational structure if you're interested in that in the future.
I was very active in Florida with, we were trying to stop an electric power lines coming through our neighborhood, and we did it through the Neighborhood Watch. So the Neighborhood Watch was they were the captains who went to people's houses and, gathered signatures or had small meetings, and then through the small meetings they gathered for a large meeting. And they did beat the electric company. It was reversed, I think, after that, but they did initially beat the electric company. I'm pretty new to this organization, but I would love to know where the sign-up sheet is.
Yeah. Sign-up sheet's right here. Okay, so everybody, before you leave, if you could sign up, that would be fabulous so that we know who you are so we can call you next time there's another meeting. Okay, well, I'm going to go in the back and try to get everybody one question and then come back.
I know the local school board played a large part in the Love Canal. I don't know, did they continue to be antagonists, or were you able to engage the school district and parent groups to help in your fight? And if so, how do you have suggestions on how to do that?
The answer to the school board was very uncooperative. And the school board was uncooperative for a good reason. The school was next to the dump. If any of those children had any health impacts, the school could be sued. So they were not going to admit or deny, anything. And so they were just, a problem. But the teachers, on the other hand, were fabulous. The teachers were saying, I've had 3 miscarriages since I taught at the school. When I taught at this other school, I didn't have these same problems. The PTA was fabulous because the PTA is part of the community. And so, they wouldn't necessarily do anything under PTA because they were afraid of retaliation. But what they did is they had their PTA list, right? And in their PTA meetings, they would invite somebody to come in and talk about what's happening at Love Canal. And they would encourage PTA people to come to our meetings, and eventually it all kind of blended together to be one. So it was really good. The other thing is I saw a lot of young folks here, and in Ohio, I was mentioning earlier to one of the leaders, is that in Ohio they formed two groups. One was the adult group, and the other one was the youth group. So the youth group did things different than the adult groups because they're different. They're different people. And so that's another thing you could think about, was trying to start a youth group. And the youth group actually in Lima, Ohio was bigger than the adult group. And they ran it like a pep rally. I mean, they were cheerleaders. I mean, it was amazing what they did. And then when they came up and spoke to the governor or to their legislators, all of a sudden the legislators were like, oh my God, the youth is here, because they don't see many youth. So, that's another thing you could think about, is youth is really important, and you should bring it in.
What is very concerning to me, I do support, my organization has been supporting REACT for a couple of years now, and we're a full-time environmental advocacy organization. And we're looking back 40 years for you to tell us how to stop the government from polluting our backyards. I thought we made some progress since 1975, and it's a little bracing to find out that we rolled back an awful lot in a very short period of time.
No, that's true, but also we've made a lot of progress. I think part of it is that if Christie would have followed the rules, if he would have had a hearing about opening that dump, if he had not let the owner of the dump, who was a felon, do it, if he had done testing with the stuff that came in and he knew what was there, I mean, I think there are protections there that were ignored. And that's not true in every state. And it's not even true in every community in New Jersey. It is true of this community, and it is true of the communities over there.
It's a little easier to have done this, and this so easily, so quickly.
Yes. When no one was watching. And it's not surprising to me that this is a rural community. I mean, this is a community that's very vulnerable to that. You don't have a large population. You can bring in, several hundred trucks before anybody even notices. And then the only people going to notice are the ones on the truck road, right? And then you're going to say, what are all those trucks about? I don't know. Somebody ought to check that out. But nobody really does, because it's not affecting them. And so, they know how they have sociologists who figure out how communities like yours operate and how long before they're going to get caught with their fingers in the pot.
The unfortunate thing about all this is that the felon went in under the guise of solar farm. And the DEP and the governor, desperate to try to do something with solid waste, didn't look at the laws or anything like that. So it's a solar farm, supposedly, that brought it in, and they turned their heads without even noticing anything. And it's all legal. It's all legal. I think we have I'd like to stand on that.
It's not legal.
No, it's all illegal.
Illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they just use different words, but it's illegal. This is if you were in a court of law, this is black and white. Can a felon run a dump? Answer: no. Is he a felon? Answer: yes. Black and white.
That's right.
It's just like, do you need to go through a regulatory process to reopen a dump? Yes. Did you do that? No. I mean, there's no gray here.
And that's what baffles me, the fact that they can get away with that and get through all the obstacles that were created for that purpose.
Yeah. Well, that's because Christie is Christie, and I think he's a governor who will do whatever he wants to do whenever he wants it, and he thinks he's above everything else.
That's true.
And that's not true of other governors you've had in the state or in other states.
All right, so with all that in mind, that he is blatantly black and white, that he has done illegal stuff, who's the next level above him that we ask them to criminally charge him? Can he be criminally charged for what he's done? And do we badger that person with emails and phone calls to their office.
I don't understand how it works in New Jersey. It's usually the Attorney General's office who's in charge of doing that. Attorney General is usually very aligned with the governor is not likely to move. That's why I'm suggesting that you try to figure out how to, that I don't know that you can win this, so understand that. But to challenge, one of the things Christie wants is he rules with an iron fist, right? He does what he wants when he wants it, blah, 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 blah. So to take away his right to govern around dumps is going to make him crazy. Whether you win, lose, or draw, it's going to make him nuts. And he's going to want to get you out of his face. What he doesn't know is you've got all these other groups that are going to be working with you, that even if he fixes your problem, you all are going to stay together. I mean, I think the thing that Christie likes is control and the ability to control it, legal or illegal. He likes control. And so the moment you challenge any of his control, even if he had never intended in using it ever again for a dump, you just get his goat. His ego, I mean, he's going to fly off the handle. I think that's an approach that you have to understand. It's a 3-year battle. You may or may not win. And it's just another tool in the toolbox, like the talking outhouse. I mean, you know, all these things are tools, and none of them are the absolute. You need to do all of them.
Add something to that. Tomorrow is day 10 of our campaign, and we will be emailing and calling the Senate and Assembly environmental committees and calling for that investigation. So I implore you guys to all do that. There's a contact list on our website. It's an PDF form. It has them all listed right there with their phone numbers. All you need to do is pick up the phone, spend 5-10 minutes calling everybody and telling them what you want. You want an investigation of the DEP. It's a great first start.
Someone should go on and put the emails on the React page or the Fenimore page or something, wherever the emails are that are going to be, or phone numbers that are going to be used tomorrow. We should put them in a post up on the thing so that everybody can get to them fast and easy.
Yeah, put all 5 contacts: emails, Facebook, tweet, phone number, and something else, whatever.
It's all on the web. Most of that's all on the website already, so you can go to the website and then put.
You need to make sure it's right up front, so people who are not
People have to go find it. They're not gonna.
Website savvy can find it. I think that's really key. And you could go in dressed up. 3 people go and dress up like Sherlock Holmes, right? You do a press conference on top of it. It's like, yeah, you know, we're going to help with the investigation. We got our magnifying glass. I got my dog. You know, I mean, those are the things that will capture the media attention, which gives you an opportunity to have a voice, right? That's what you're talking about. You're going to get 10 seconds on the news, but 10 seconds that says Sherlock Holmes came about this site. Christie is like, yes, it's a win.
Can I just point out that it's a scare tactic that Governor Christie is saying that it would cause more harm to dig this up and expose us. That's a scare tactic. Don't go by that. That if we uproot it, it's going to make us more ill. That is just a scare tactic. So don't look into that. That's
what you could do is talk amongst your neighbors and have people send letters saying, we'll take the risk for the benefits.
Very good.
Or something like that. I don't know whether it's true or not true, and maybe somebody could do a little summary, but people should sort of say that.
The more it's buried under the ground, the more it's going to cause more gases. I know that because it's a lack of oxygen that causes the gas.
Okay.
If you bring it out.
Way too sciencey. Keep it simple and short. So the answer is...
Truck it out.
Yeah. People just need to truck it out. We want you to truck it out.
This is more for the REACT members, but our governor is very proud of the fact that he's raising money for the National Republican Committee. He travels all over the country. How can we target them? And can we maybe get hooked together with some people in other states that as he's going into these events trying to make money for the Republican Party in other states, that somebody's out there holding a sign for us?
I think to do that, especially in other states, would just he'd go through the ceiling. So I think it's right. And how do you do that? There must be Republicans in this room and in this community. If you are a card-carrying Republican or registered Republican, you should be able to find that out just by by calling the headquarters and finding out that information. I mean, that's
He spends
available.
more time out of this state than he does in the state. Let's get him.
You could just say, look, I'm a card carrying. I mean, Republicans should get rid of him because they're giving him a bad name. I mean, let's face it. So you could do that. The other thing is if you know he's going to be with somebody else, another Republican. So in New York State, for example, if he's going to hang out with another Republican, help them raise money, then you could call that office. Have your people call that office. Do you know what he did here? We're coming and carrying a sign. Do you know what he did here? We're coming and carrying a sign. Check it out. And that's going to make this other, it's about peer pressure. It's like, well, I don't know, Governor, if we want you here. We're getting these things, and what the hell did you do over there, and what does that mean? So anytime he has to respond to a peer, a colleague, a media about you, you win, right? It's like a building block. You're building the blocks up. The ultimate victory is way up there, but you win another block, another step along the way, and that's how you have to think of these things. And really do it for a year, like, don't let up, like, just in the space. It really matters.
So, from Ringwood Superfund site, I just want to say that keep that pressure up because that it's Ringwood managed to get itself relisted through the efforts of Vivian Milligan and Wayne Mann. I don't know if you've seen Man versus Ford, see the effort of that book. And we did get relisted as a Superfund site. And we had the head of the EPA say to Vivian, you know what, we're going to clean it all up. We're talking about the O'Connor landfill. And then all of a sudden, at the last minute, the town came in and said, why don't we put a recycling center on top of it? So one thing that, as we stick together and we get behind your effort and the renewed energy that it brings to these issues, we have a petition out there to have them broken out of Ringwood as well. And if I can give John Schultz the connection for that, if we could get another 100 signatures on that from this group, so that you guys don't forget us, because we're 50 years in this game. We have a lot of and we're 100.
Well, it's a long process for sure, but the message that she had, which I think is really a good message, is that you need to depend on her, and she needs to depend on you. That everybody's in the same boat, and everybody wants to tuck their kid in at night, and everybody wants to go to the movies once a year, at least, right? Everybody has a life, and by sharing the burden, you all get a little bigger piece of the pie.
When you worked on the Love Canal, did the township and Board of Aldermen or whoever it was work with you, or did they kind of go like this? The reason why I asked that question is the Board of Aldermen, and especially the mayor, says that I'm interested in the health and safety of the community. Yet, when we asked for him to send letters to everybody, this place would be packed if they did, and they said no. And the DEP sent a letter out to all the other towns or let them know about the problem. So did you have that same problem?
Yes, we had the same problem. Our local government, our county government, that's what we had. That was our makeup of government.
Were you able to kick them in the shins to do something?
No, we went to every single meeting, and we were there at every meeting. We had a presence at every meeting. You had 5 minutes that you could speak before the meeting, so we would line people up. But the fact of the matter was they couldn't give us what we wanted because they had no money. We need to be relocated. We're talking $13 million, and so our local government didn't have that money, and they had dumped in there as well, so they thought that they were liable. But we didn't care. We were still in their face. We want them to give us a letter of support. We never did get it. Yeah. You're welcome.
We thought that I know some people are starting to leave, so I wanted to, and then you're welcome to ask more questions. Okay.
Just before, I know some people are getting ready to leave. It's getting a little late. So I want to formally thank Lois Gibbs for coming this evening. feel that it was right that we called this night of inspiration, because I'm leaving here totally inspired. I feel like I'm also leaving here a little saddened about, you know, what the future can hold for my children, my daughter, my water that's, again, contaminated, and I'm not going to go to a watery. So I'm going to give it to Bob. He just wants to give a couple-minute update on all the press release this afternoon, and then Lois will still be here to chat up with, okay? Thank you for coming, too.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for coming tonight. We really appreciate it, and it shows how much you care about your town and your kids and your neighbors and your friends. This afternoon at 5 o'clock, we had a press conference here because we found some information in our Oprah searches that we did a couple weeks ago when we released that information to the media. That information is also available on our website, which is FenimoreLandfill.com. There is a document we wrote, which is about 50 pages, and then there is 1,300-page plus exhibits that go along with that. So it's pretty extensive. Just a couple highlights out of it. If you remember, the Rutgers scientists were called in to give an opinion of hydrogen sulfide and whether to truck it out or what to do with it. And we actually found an email from the Rutgers scientist, the expert in New Jersey, that said the best option for Fenimore was to excavate it, piece by piece, and that was never shared with anybody.
When, Bob? When was that?
That was October of 2013.
Not shocked, are you?
Not shocking. I mean, I guess I was shocked. I was pretty surprised to find it. I figured they would have burned it. So.
The township or the DP or the town? Who was the email to?
It went from Rutgers to the Department of Health, and then the Department of Health to the DEP. I never saw it make it to the township. So that doesn't mean it didn't get there, but there was no evidence there. Another additional thing, if you remember from the DEP report that was given at the public meeting, they gave some financial scenarios there of trucking it out versus capping it, and we all know that the number for capping it didn't include maintenance and operating costs. And interestingly, we found a document that the DEP wrote about that plan. And they had maintenance and operating costs all the way to 2044. So that's 30 years. And that number was somewhere around $20 million, and I don't remember offhand because I've looked at way too many documents over the last 2 weeks. Another thing, if you remember the township's report, they said there was no organic matter in that landfill. And as we all know, that's BS. Because we know there's tree stumps. However, those 52 acres of trees, brush, and everything else was chipped on site and kept on site. That was all put on that site, and that's where it stands. It was never trucked out of there. So there's a ton of organic material there, which could lead to additional gases as well as a potential fire. I mean, that is a real scenario that can happen at our landfill. So we're not going anywhere. We're here for the duration. I hope that every single one of you helps us and helps your township and join with us to join in this fight, because the more people behind us and beside us, the stronger we are, and the more scared our politicians get. Because we only had one politician here tonight, that was Rich Zoshak from our town council. Everybody else we invited didn't come.
Personally invited them.
And we personally invited each and every one of them. For 4 months, we've been calling for an investigation of the DEP. Actually, it's been longer than that, but let's just say 4 months. And they haven't done it. And it took meetings with Senator Sweeney to get them to actually do that. And we're very happy that they're calling for it. But we need to put the pressure on Senator Sweeney and Assemblywoman Spencer and the rest of what? Senator Smith. What, did I say Senator Sweeney? Oh, sorry, I meant with Sweeney. So it takes each and every one of us to do just a small part, and we're really formidable together, and we can do this. And I want to thank everybody for coming here, and I don't think there was anything else I needed to say, was there? Did I miss something?
No, the only two things that we wanted to mention was today when Bob and everyone else,
They did the press conference. Channel 12 News was here. We were aired at 6:15. Unfortunately, I think we were all so busy here that we didn't tweet it or put it out there. But you know, News 12, and it will run 24 hours. Wolf Kane just won a huge award last 2 days ago. Starts with a D. I can't remember.
The Deadline Club. The
Deadline
Club.
Deadline Club. He beat out CNN, ESPN, all on a story about Fenimore Landfill. So, I mean, it's amazing. I personally thanked him today with a phone call. He brought coverage, which will run, 24 hours. But you know what? You gotta, what's that saying? You gotta thank people. So when Walt Kane wins an award on Fenimore Landfill, we want them to keep coming, say thank you. Or when people come, like I'm thanking everyone for coming out tonight. When we have our next public meeting, hopefully the rec center here will be open again, and we'll have one. I mean, come, tell your neighbor, tell something. We've been trying. We've been trying to do it. Chasing New Jersey, Channel 9 was also here. She said, I think something will be airing tomorrow night. And we want to have another React public meeting within the next week or two. And to take time off, and summer's coming, and stuff is busy, and I have kids, and you have kids, and grandkids, and everything else. I don't know what else to do besides what Lois is saying and how inspired I was tonight. I don't know what else to do than to try and tell my neighbors and community and Facebook and email, and hoping to get more than 20 people in a room. Like tonight was awesome, and if we could do this and say tomorrow's the call campaign, maybe you guys will do it. I mean, I'm sure you're aware of our 10-day campaign. I put it out there every single day. Call this, write this, raise awareness. So we're doing the best to do it, but we need the support from the community in order to get it done. So that's it. I hope, again, you were inspired by tonight. This is truly amazing. On the back table, please don't leave. We have snacks and waters and stuff, but we do have React T-shirts and bumper stickers we'd like you to, take on your way out and proudly wear. So thank you.
Thank you.